What the? Oh! Ah! Orc! What the fuck? The audacity of...
I think I landed on my sword.
You're all delightfully prone, yet I remain afloat. This is a boon worthy of a tune, a lonely boon. Allow me to sing as to the...
Nope! No. Everybody shut up! Ain't no way we're going into silly banter when we've just been tumbled ball over butt cheek into some mystery hole. God. I think I broke my frenulum.
You can't break your frenulum, Loon. It's just tissue.
Well, some people's are more tissue than others. Get it? It's a master...
We get it.
I don't. What is the frenulum, pupil?
We don't have time for this. Where the fuck are we at? Looks like the blasted cargo hold of a ship. Orc, did you do this? What? No! How the hell would I do this? I barely got any magics. Whoever did this has enough arcana and enough time on their hands to...
Pupil, why is everyone looking a little me? Is it because you see me as the leader? And therefore the only person who can navigate...
It is because you're the only weird-ass ghost wizard that could and would do something like this. I'm sold, guys. This has RG scent all over it. What's that? What's what? That, in the distance, the glowing thing. Listen, I'm experiencing this at the same time as you, Vigo. So if you're thinking I've got answers, then, oh, for fuck's sake! Just go over and examine the shitting thing, you damn cursed idiots! For the first time ever, Stinky's right. Hedvig, you should go over there and pat down the definitely not at all dangerous glowing whatever the fuck. All the way over there. We'll watch. I'm not going to be doing anything. Stop calling me stinky gods. Damn you, orc! Hedvig, stop being a coward. Stinky, stuff it. You three-mouthed having embodiment of a hemorrhoid. Somebody's gotta go check it out since it's the only thing in here, and it ain't gonna be me. I already did enough when I generously allowed you all to break your fall on my tender body.
I'll do it.
No!
I'll do it.
See, Hedvig? Rua's brave. Now don't you just feel like a dick. Better her than me!
All right. All right. What in the world is this? Wait. A tablet? Guys? You might want to come check this out.
Oh, is it a treasure map? Or perhaps the sky has fallen and left behind a shard of delicious moonbeam?
Shut up, RG.
Yes, pupil baby. Woo! Shiny!
No, it's not RG. It's just a fucking, I don't know, iPad or something. And before anyone asks, no, I'm not going to explain what that means. Looks like fucking scribbles. Let me inspect. As a researcher and a scholar, I am versed in many forms of writing. I cannot read it. Ha! That's because it's written in a special genius language. You slack-jawed yokels wouldn't understand a word of it. But I can because I'm a goddamn wonderkind.
It's just writing from our world, English, and not even particularly well written at that. It's the farthest thing from a genius language.
Ha! There you go, giving up the ghost.
You cannot give me up. I am impossible to quit.
Not what I meant. I just meant the jig is up.
A dance? How quaint! I choose the one known as Stinky as my waltzing partner.
No, the fucking hells you don't! I don't even know what you are! The last fucking thing I want to do is dance with you!
Oh, apprentice mine, I do not like this one. You must destroy him for his crotchety refusal to boogie.
You'll get over it. Now, everyone quiet. I need big brain space to translate this beastly bitch into whatever the fuck language we speak round these parts. Ahem. Welcome to Long-Winded... On today's episode, we will be speaking with author and narrator combo. Oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
What?
This is a goddamn podcast intro. Like an Irish or a Scottish one or something.
Irish or Scottish?
Yeah! These dudes' names are Seth McDuffee and Johnathan McClain. Mick and Mick! Sounds like a couple of real McChuckleheads, if you ask me. Anyway, it goes on. Seth and Johnathan. Something about big, sneaky barbarian. Big, sneaky barbarian. Which sounds dumb as fuck, by the way. A comedy, action, fantasy, what is it? Fucking lit ruppug? Lit ruppug. That sounds like it'll be one of your brothers, Edvig.
I don't have any brothers, Hook. Joke's on you. I only have a sister, and her name is Farrellyn.
Yeah, you really got me there, Vigo. Top notch.
It's lit RPG, Loon. It's pretty cool, actually. It's a subgenre of fantasy. Well, some people think it's a subgenre of progression fantasy, which is a subgenre of fantasy itself, while others argue they're two different...
Well, you fucking get on with it! Take an all damn day to read 3 lines of...
I want to read this big, sneaky barbarian. It sounds exactly like the sort of thing I would enjoy lustfully gazing upon, curled up in my favorite nook, reading and such. Bubbling lava all around me. My body quivering with the...
Ew, all right, fine. I'm moving along. I don't exactly see what the point is, but here we go. I do fucking some bullshit. Comedy, action, laughs. All right, here we go. Seth and Johnathan. That can't be right. Seth and Johnathan also discuss how they've joined forces to co-write another book together. Ha! What a bunch of nerds writing books. Virgin much? I'll bet. Oh, wait. Shit! Johnathan McClain?
I think he was on a season of Mad Men or something.
No, Rua, shut up! He's got the name of the main character of Die Hard. John McClain, yo! I'll bet this guy fucking rules. I'm definitely going to be listening to this episode. Is there like an aux cord or something?
I have a spell for oral magnification.
Oral man. That sounds like it would be really handy to have in your personal life, Vigo.
Can you make it so we can all listen together?
What do you take me for?
A braggart?
A slime creature who never stops talking about himself. A know-nothing know-it-all.
You're all rude.
Just make with the oral splendor or whatever, Jigglepuss. Time's a-wasting.
Fine. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oral magnification!
Welcome to Season 5 of the Long-Winded One podcast. Listen as we showcase original work from top Royal Road authors read by professional voice actors. Hear interviews from your favorite lit RPG and game lit authors. Lastly, listen as the Long-Winded One tries his hand at his first ever lit RPG novel, The Four Treasures.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Long-Winded One podcast. With me tonight, I have the aficionado of alliteration and the virtuoso of vocal versatility, Seth McDuffie and Johnathan McClain. Welcome to the podcast, you guys.
Which one is which?
Well, or as you describe yourselves, MC squared.
Yeah. I don't remember who started doing that, but it stuck. I like it.
Yeah, we have a lot of nicknames for ourselves, and they're all self-aggrandizing, but the majority of them are, polite.
Yeah.
Well, let's just start off by, I could try to introduce you, but I probably wouldn't do each of you much justice. So if you want to introduce each other, that works.
Yeah. I love that. No, Seth, I'm gonna talk about Seth. All right, so I'm Johnathan, but it is my pleasure to introduce Seth Patrick McDuffie, friend to animal and human alike, um, possibly one of the longest haired friends that I have. He is as tall as a tree, a 6'2" tree. He is. If a tree is 6'2", that's how tall he is what I'm saying. He is from Iowa. He is a fantastic writer. He's also a fantastic musician. In the little over 2 years I've known Seth, every time we have a conversation, some new fucking something that I can't that I couldn't have expected comes out of his mouth. Like, yeah, let me show you the promo shot from the 3 months that I was in this country band that was signed to Atlantic or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And then, oh yeah, that was when I was in culinary school. And I'm like, all right. I mean, and it's a never ending barrage of interesting, awesome realities that he occupies all simultaneously. Seth McDuffie, ladies and gentlemen.
Golf very good. I feel like there should be applause right now. That's a great introduction.
That was fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I'm Seth McDuffie, and Johnathan McClain. First and foremost, the thing you need to know about him is he believes anything you tell him when you. No,
Uh-oh. No. I feel like there's a story behind that.
No, Johnathan McClain, yes, virtuoso of voice, a benevolent individual who is known far and wide for his wide variety of different voices, accents, and affectations. He's also an actor. He is a hell of a sports fanatic when it comes to basketball. And, he occupies a space in my heart that is, only shared for the mightiest of French dips. But above all, he's a fantastic writer. He has, produced some amazing works, including an Oscar-nominated screenplay, The Outfit. I don't know if you've heard of it, but
I have.
Fantastic. You should see it. If you've already seen it, watch it again. And he's a treasure trove of experiences. I would say that's top of the list. Johnathan McClain, experience guy.
Yeah, and insert applause here.
I think it is enormous. I mean, God, I want to let it just roll, but I think it is enormously important to note that the screenplay that I wrote, The Outfit, I co-wrote with my friend Graham, who does have an Oscar for writing the film The Imitation Game. Our film did not get nominated for an Oscar, though. So I am not Oscar nominated, but I do write with Oscar-winning screenwriters.
Man, see,
I know, but
I almost slipped it there.
I know, but fuck, man, the internet is forever, and people find this shit. And
people just believe whatever you tell them.
The amount of things that I'm dodging being canceled over already I can't bear another thing.
Well, so speaking of that, you guys are both writers, right? You're kind of Renaissance men of sorts. I mean, you act, Johnathan, you write, Seth, you have a podcast. Like, where did this desire to create come from?
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing started as I was originally thinking I was going to be an artist when I was a kid. My parents are they're sort of in a similar vein of me. They're musicians. They love to create art. They have a lot of varied interests that they're, passionate about. But I thought I was going to be an artist. I was like the talk of my elementary school with my art, and which is a weird flex, but it brings us to the point of the story where we just had an opportunity, a project in my first grade class where they were like, you know what, you can create whatever you want. And I was going to create this like beautiful piece of art. Like I made up all these like fantasy characters, and then I decided that they needed backstory, so I ended up writing like 12 to 13 pages of backstory. My teacher and I was like writing backstory, and then I started writing like a whole scene, and my teacher asked me like where the dialogue came from in the scene, and she like legitimately thought I had like borrowed it from a movie, and I was just making it up. And I told her that, and she sent me off to the writer's workshop, and then my parents like freaked out about it, and they were just like, "Yeah, Seth, you gotta write. We believe in this writing thing." And so I was forced into it by my parents. I didn't want to disappoint them, and no, but then I just kept going. It's one of those things that if there's a blank page on in front of me, I'm probably going to start writing stuff, to the point that I was like doing that in classes I shouldn't have been doing it in, just like crafting these stories, these like long, lore filled worlds, and never doing anything with them. And eventually finally finish something, and and here you have it.
This came up. My wife and I were talking about this the other night, about how many hours in your 20s that you spent at a Starbucks or a coffee shop writing. I'm curious. Did you guys go through that part of your 20s like I did?
Oh shit, man, I still do it.
Yeah.
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 And I actually worked at Starbucks for 2 years, and I in my 20s, and I spent a lot of that time not working. So yes, I would say I did a lot of that during my 20s.
Yeah. What about you, Johnathan?
I mean, the real answer is that I was a horribly insecure kid, but not in a sort of a shy and retiring way, in a huge ego, I need a lot of attention way. I learned very early that it is easy to get uh, the stimulation that feels like love when people applaud for you and laugh and like celebrate you. And so I just became this really hammy kid, and I was like, I need everybody to love me all the time. And if I'm doing plays and stuff, I'm the center of attention, and that's the honest answer. Like I started writing stories because I just wanted to dream outside of the boundaries of my backyard, and I started performing because I needed that dopamine rush, and I became super addicted to it for a really, really long time.
What came first? Was it the writing or the acting?
Oh, it's a good question. Someone asked me this recently, and acting was just so much of what I was. Like, it was my identity for a long time. I was one of those actors who's not like, this is what I do for a job. I was like, no, like he's an act, like total asshole, right? And but when I reflect back on it, and I really thought about it, I was like, no, I was actually writing stories. I was writing the little plays I wanted to do way before I started acting and, like doing Shakespeare and all that stuff. So I was writing my own narratives, crafting my own realities, like way before I started acting them out. And so as I've now sort of gone full circle over the decades and come back to writing as my primary focus, with, I guess, narrating audiobooks, it is performing, right? Like it depends on the book, but it is a form of performing. So while I still do that, I think of myself now as a writer first, and that was sort of how I got into it. And then I just, and like I found out that if I have a superpower, it's that I know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, and I and I don't pursue things that I'm not good at. Like I'm smart enough to know like, oh, I'm never gonna fucking be in the NBA, so I'm not gonna try. But this other thing, oh right, like I get enough back from it, and I do well enough at it, and I feel good when I'm doing it, that like I'll pursue that. So that was what drew me in the direction of like a life in the arts, I guess, a creative life.
Mm-hmm.
um
I wish more people knew what they were good at.
Right. I mean, it's funny. One of my great late night, I can't sleep obsessions is watching performances of the blind auditions of The Voice from around the world, like the Ukraine and Sri Lanka. Like, it's amazing. By the way, they're all on YouTube, and it's fucking incredible. If you
Oh,
like
yeah.
watching a woman do Nicki Minaj in Sri Lanka for her blind audition is incredible. And I always look at those. My wife and I talk about this a lot. It's like the people who tend to do well in those environments are the people who, when the question is put to them, why do you want to do this? If they're like, I have this thing that I just need to get it out of me, and I need to share. And that feels like that. Those are the people who are usually pretty good. And the
Mhm.
people who are like, I just want to be famous and make money and be successful and have people give me what I can't give myself. Those are the people who are like, all right, yeah, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and it's reflected in your work. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
I do.
So
I don't want to get super existential about it, but I think that, like, for me, I just never wanted to be that asshole who has blind ambition and doesn't recognize what my limitations are.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I think there's something very empowering about recognizing what you're not good at and owning it and leaving it to the people who know what they're doing. And so I just tried to go in the direction, like I say, of the things that. And here's a dovetail into the topic at hand. So when I found lit RPG and like sort of progression fantasy and fantasy writ large, I was like, oh, this is my destination. As an audiobook narrator, especially, I was like, I can do the other stuff, but like, oh, this is home. Oh, now we're talking,
Yeah.
Man, I think you just feel it. Anyway, that's not an answer to any one question. That's an answer to all of them. So.
No, I mean, the listeners come here for entertainment, and you're also feeding their soul. This is great.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
And it's the perfect segue into the next question, which is about, how you came to lit RPG and actually how you started working together too. So, Seth, you want to get us started with that?
Yeah, in my infinite ignorance, I was working on a story, and I would say it was like 2019. I had a book that I released in 2017. It was not lit RPG, but it was my first little taste of like getting on like an Amazon bestseller list and things like that. And I was like, well, I should keep trying to work on stuff that I really enjoy, because that's what that original story called Good Boy was. It was just like this tale that I had so much fun writing, and I wanted to keep the dice rolling on that. I was like, I want to pursue that. So I was, I big into D&D, and I wanted to combine some of the aspects of that I really enjoyed. And I was working on this completely separate story from what is Big Sneaky Barbarian, but I had introduced some game elements into it, and I sent it to a friend, and I was like, "What do you think of this?" And he was like, "Have you heard of lit RPG?" And I was like, "I have not. I thought I was, revolutionizing literature as we speak, but no. What is it?" And he explained it to me. I was like, "Oh, I'm in. I'm in." And there's a group of people that write, because at the time it was, still, and it still is to an extent, niche genre, and it's getting larger by the day. But in 2019 there was like just a handful of like hard hitters, and so I wiped those out, and I kind of came back to what I was working on, and I was like, some of these things are really cool. I'm going to try to do a little twist on it and kind of inject a little bit of humanity into it, because that was, I'm not disparaging any of the things that came out around that time, but I wanted to, dive a little deeper, put some meat into the main character, and that's what ended up becoming Big Sneaky Barbarian. And then I was fortunate enough to be connected with Podium, and they really enjoyed it. And Luke Chmlenko, the author of Ascend Online, he, was a huge advocate of it, and, wanted to see that reach larger appeal. And so then, they put it together as a publishing and an audiobook deal, and they suggested Johnathan McClain, and that is how he came on board. And he can take it from there, at least as far as how we came to work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had stumbled into it because, and I know that at some point I'm going to be back with you talking to Ryan Rimmel, who wrote the Newtown series, writes the
That's right.
Newtown series,
Yeah.
and that was my first exposure to it. Podium Publishing Audio, they're great, and I've known them and been working with them since 2016, when they were very small, like a 4-person operation, and now they're a Forbes list, like 150 employee I mean, yeah, the not just that they grew, but that they grew as fast as they did in 8 years is kind of mind blowing. But they had known me, like I say, from their early days, and they reached out, and they were early to the game with lit RPG in terms of converting it to audio. And they reached out and said, the casting team there said, "We've got this thing for you. It's called the Noobtown series. What do you know about lit RPG?" I was like, "Well, I don't know what that is." And they were like, "Well, it's this thing, and it's sort of video game." And they explained isekai and yada yada yada. And I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I play, yeah, okay." I get it. I know. I play video games all the time. Like, yeah, I know exactly what that is. Okay, great. And that's how I stumbled into it. And then yeah, it was it was interesting. Suddenly, spoiler, this year, we're recording this in late May of 2024. I'm gonna have I'm going from like 2 or 3 series, Seth being one of them, to I think I'm gonna have like 9. I'm in the middle of recording the first books of like 9 different new series that I am going to be voicing.
Oh wow.
So I'm going to have dozens and dozens of these things out in the near future. But but it started with Noobtown, and I guess there was another podcast for a little while that may or may not have made it. I don't know, but I remember someone forwarded me a link, and it was reviewed on it positively.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, things kind of took off, and I think the sales of the book took off after that. And and then I got offered one that I'm not going to say the name of because I got offered it, and it's a wildly popular series, and the author apparently I got offered it and went off on like vacation and get a call while I'm on holiday from the casting people. And they're like, so the author had somebody else in mind. Apparently, we think that you'd be great for this, but the author wants somebody else.
Oh.
And I also won't say who that is, but they're also very successful and popular in this genre. And it was like, so would you mind not doing this after all? And I was like, I mean, that hurts my feelings, but sure. And they were like, but we have something else that we think you're perfect for. And this author, he doesn't give a shit who narrates it. His name's Seth McDuffee. He's like, fuck, I don't care. Whoever. Yeah. And so and so it was like the thing that came about because of that. And I got into it, and I'm like, listen, I don't think it serves anybody to pretend that the people who've listened to or read Seth's book, Big Sneaky, particularly, it can be a polarizing title. Is that fair to say, Seth, that people have?
Yeah, I welcome. I encourage you to call it that.
Okay. And so I was one of the ones who was on the polar end of, I think this is great, because I responded so much to the authenticity of the main character, to the fact that Seth just writes really well. The structure of language was just really elegant and easy to do. The characters were fun and vivid, and I just had a really great time. And then there were other things, like I'm a big heavy metal fan. I carried a switchblade with me in high school, like the lead character of this book does, and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, oh my God, he wrote about like the fat version of me. And so I reached out to him because of that, and then yeah, the bromance came about from there. But that was, like Seth, when I found that this was a genre that, like I said it a minute ago, when I found that this was a genre that exists, I was like, oh, this feels like home to me,
Oh yeah.
because it just makes all the sense in terms of the kinds of things that I like. And as a performer, like, you get to play, you know what I mean? Like, you get
Oh
to
yeah.
really play with like big characters, and it's fun. And so that was how it came about for me.
Again, another perfect segue. I think what we should do is, I think we need to like give like a high level explanation for Big Sneaky Barbarian, in case any of the listeners haven't read it. And then I have a game I want to play with you about those polarizing reviews that you spoke of.
Mhm.
So I can do it, but I think it might be better if one of you could give like a, like a back flap copy of
Mhm.
what Big Sneaky is about.
Seth?
Yeah. So it is about an angry, ignorant, arrogant, metalhead kid who has a huge chip on his shoulder for life in general, who is catapulted he's isekai'd into a new realm, and decides that it's a chance to reinvent himself, and then begins this cataclysmic journey of trying to grow as a human being while also being a 6'4", just big, gross orc barbarian. And it's about his growth as a person, in existence, and using the backdrop of this world to really bring that to the forefront.
But he's not really a gross orc, right? From what
No,
I
he's
understand,
not.
he's not. He's a handsome orc.
Yeah, he believes, he's going to be this big, gross, awesome death machine, and he's actually way more highly received than he ever was as a human. And I think that's a big part of it too, is if you get like deeper into what I was wanting to kind of introduce is, you know, the who we are as a at our core, as opposed to just like these surface interactions, what these end up meaning for people and what their genuine truths end up being.
So I think probably my guess is if people don't go through the whole series, right? If they don't read the 3 books, they might not get like a full picture of what this book series is about. Would you say that that's safe to say?
Yeah, I think if you make it through the first one, you can see glimpses, but that's the part of it too, is like true growth in
Exactly.
character is not overnight, and I wanted to, you know, make that as realistic as possible, because no, you know, traumatic events can change people, but genuine growth is one of those things that it is a gradual process, and I wanted to be honest about that gradual process of someone trying, sometimes, you know, not trying, but being forced to become a better person, uh, despite what may have happened to them in their actual past.
Well, I enjoyed the series. It has definitely shaped my own writing. As I mentioned to you before we clicked record, it is the last series that I have read before I started working on my own novel. And I thought we could play a fun game right now in the style of Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. We'll call this. How about we call it Guess That Book?
Okay.
And this is where I'm going to read some reviews to you, and I have linked just the reviews, and I've taken out anything that would tell you exactly what book we're talking about. But your role, and we can maybe take turns. You'll have to guess whether the review that I'm talking about is for Big Sneaky Barbarian or for Conan the Barbarian. Sound good?
Okay. That sounds good.
All right. Who's going to go first?
I think Johnathan should go first. He's the improv guy here.
All
right. So review number 1, and we don't have to go through all of these, but let's see how long it takes us here.
Yep.
Review number 1 is from Alan on Goodreads. No one can stop the main character as he fights his way across the world. When your brain is tired of serious literature, try this as a relaxant.
I mean, it's applicable to both, but my guess is it's Conan.
You got it right. Yeah. That's correct. Yeah. And so here's the other thing is like some of these reviews are like, one of them's a 1-word review, and I just put it in there because I thought it was funny, right? Some of these really could go either way. so let's just go.
I'm so excited about this.
All right. So Seth, this one is from Allison on Goodreads. Fantasy, the way it's supposed to be.
That is a direct quote from my diary. But it is not about Big Sneaky Barbarian. I'm going to say Conan.
Correct. Correct. All right. So, Johnathan, this is from Amy on Audible. This is an amazing piece of work, although not my usual genre.
I'm going Big Sneaky.
Yeah, you guys are 3 for 3. Very good.
Nice.
All right.
Pressure's on. Pressure's on.
Seth, here we go. B on Goodreads. I am so impressed by the well-rounded characters, the plot, and development of both. I was caught utterly unprepared for the turn this book took, stabbing me right in the feels and then sprinkling salt in the feely wound.
Just based on the way that is written, I'm going to say Big Sneaky.
Yeah, you got it.
Wow,
yes. You guys are really good at this. All right. Johnathan, David on Goodreads.
Okay.
The plot...
fucking David. Okay.
It's gonna be
what
a
did David say?
David response.
Yeah.
No.
Old David.
There's only one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
The plots aren't suspenseful, but the world the author creates in these stories is I'm just reading the review here, is well fleshed out through the use of great language mastery.
I've never read Conan, so I don't know about its language mastery.
It's okay. I won't like.
Yeah.
This isn't Catholic school. I won't smack you on the wrists.
That would be quite the incentive, though.
All right, sister. Let me think here. How about I'm going with Big Sneaky. I'm probably wrong. I'm going Big Sneaky.
It's Conan.
It is. Okay.
Ooh.
All right. Here's another one from David on Goodreads.
It's David. Jeez, calm down.
It's a different David, I'm imagining, but
I'm imagining the same David.
We
we all know him.
You know David? Yeah.
We all know the David.
We all got a David.
All right. Well, this one says it's worth giving a try if you're looking for an entertaining read. It certainly isn't Shakespeare, but it's fun.
David. You know, this is a stereotypical David response, but he's talking about Conan.
No, Big Sneaky.
Oh shoot!
See, I think you're just being modest there. I mean, that, you know.
You're right. It certainly isn't Shakespeare.
But it's fun, right?
Yeah.
It's an entertaining read and it's fun. We'll maybe what do you think, guys? 2 or 3 more?
Sure. All right,
Yeah.
if you want, yeah.
All right.
Hit us.
All right. So Devin, I wasn't enjoying it a ton at the beginning, but I loved the end. The author was able to weave an emotional component into the story that drew me in so well done. I couldn't help but to lose myself in the story.
I gotta say, Big Sneaky.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll do 2 more. And this one's going to be quick. This is James on Goodreads.
Mhm.
And the review is meh.
Wow. James sounds like a Conan the Barbarian fan, or maybe not a fan. I think he doesn't like Conan the Barbarian. I think that's Conan.
That's correct. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, very good.
Good job, Seth.
Yeah, you guys are like
that was just for my own ego. I had to choose that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and we'll do this one just because.
Okay.
John on Goodreads, this book is racist, awful to female kind, and somewhat redundant.
Oh, well, that's Conan.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please God, let there be
so not Sneaky Barbarian.
Well, I was going to say, like, in fact, the opposite complaint
correct
has emerged with Big Sneaky.
Yeah, there's a certain subset.
Too fucking woke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you? I mean, do you guys? You covered this on another podcast. We can kind of skip this if you want to, but you're welcome to touch on it. That's why I included this one actually.
That's funny.
No, I think that there's people have a very strong aversion to things that are like accepting of humanity and, you know, all people. And there's just this idea that if you are, you know, treating everyone as equally as you can, like at least that's how I try to. I'm not saying I do a perfect job of it, but try to, that you are somehow writing something with a certain political mindset, let's say. I think that's what a lot of people think. Like, it's like virtue signaling. And it's just, people are people. I think at the end of, like, not even at the end of the day, that's just an existential fact. And to disagree with that, I think is a weird cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. Well, if I could just, talk very briefly on this, is that you have a character in the book who, once they're in this new world, they're a different gender than they were back on the other world, right? And yeah, I think it's very well done. It's very respectful. You don't dwell on it, and I think the main character reacts appropriately. And I think that's enough said. Unless you guys want to add on to it.
No, I think about what Seth. We have talked about this before, and what Seth has said, and I just latch into this. I think it's so right. Is like, if you're a fan of fantasy, you're willing to accept fucking anything except for the idea that someone might become a different gender. Like as Seth pointed out, it's isekai, and he's a fucking barbarian. He's an orc. People are tree people. People are whatever.
Right.
But like the idea that that is a sticking point. Here's the thing. I don't want to shit on anyone's personal, philosophical worldview. Like, okay, if that's a thing for you that's unappealing, I get it. That's fine. Then this book isn't for you. And, God bless, go off. But to become frustrated about something that feels like it doesn't matter is, I don't know. It's just, it's curious. And I admire and appreciate that Seth's willingness to just write the thing that he wanted to write, irrespective of knowing full well Seth's a smart guy, knew full well that the possibility would exist that some people might be turned off by it, but if it felt honest for the character, he was going to put it in, and he did. And I think that that's like, you can't, that art doesn't work by tailoring to the fans, right? Like you have to respect what it is that you're putting out for people and respect them. And in fact, a lot of what our book series that we're launching together, that we've written, it focuses on, is that very thought, and maybe we can talk about it, that very subject. But
Definitely.
you can't do it with that in mind, because then you are just absolutely handicapping your own ability to tell an honest story right from Jump Street, because you're looking around outside of yourself rather than trying to find the story that your brain wants to tell.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And if I could too, we've talked about this more than the actual story talks about it. I mean, I think this is what, like half a page, right? What we're talking about in the
I
book.
think it's a sentence.
Yeah, it's like at most like a paragraph, and it's just this very brief interaction, and then it's and then the mental processes is adjusted, and then they move on, like, and then
Right.
it just becomes the new reality, and that's how, to me, that makes the most sense. And it was we've spent more
Yeah,
time talking
that's a good
now
point. That's an excellent point.
than was ever written down in the page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we will move on as well, if that's okay with you. I would
Yeah.
love to. I want to talk about favorite parts of Big Sneaky, and if it's okay with you, I would love to go first.
Please do.
So I have a clip to play with you, and I've asked if it was okay if I played this, and you guys said yes, and so I have this clip actually goes, I think, about 2 minutes, and I have about a minute queued up, and I won't play the whole thing, but you guys are welcome. I know sometimes when I've talked to author narrator combinations, they feel weird about saying their favorite part of what they wrote or what they acted. So if you want to say, like, oh, I like, Johnathan, if you want to say I like what Seth wrote here, and Seth, if you want to say I like, my favorite character is,
I don't give a shit. I'll tell you which child I love the most.
all right.
Yeah, I
So-
choose favorites for sure.
All right. Well, so here is my favorite part, and it comes from, I believe this, I thought it was book 2, but I actually think it's book 3. And they're back at New Home. I don't want to give away anything, but he's back, and the camp is attacked, and he steps on something that gives him the confused condition, and this is my favorite part in any of the 3 books, and I play this part to my D&D people that listen to this. I'm like, this is what confusion sounds like. Are we ready?
Mhm.
All right, here we go.
You are confused. Hey, you've got a. Is it a bee? A little baby bee. Bee. No! It's a case of venom in your veins. Or was it gravy in your socks? Who's counting? 6, no, 11. I'm confused. You're confused. We're all confused, but I'm confused too. Minus a lot of stuff, man. Intelligence, woof. Wisdom, double woof. How did you get that hand towel? Give it back, Water. Give it back, Water.
Okay, it goes on and on. Tell me what that was like recording that, Jonathan.
I did not remember that until this very second.
It goes on. There's more.
Jesus Christ. So, well, I think the answer to how was it recording that is the same answer to how was it recording like over 70% of the books, which is exhausting. Really vocally stressful. Like the amount of actual, like, Renee Fleming operatic warm-ups that I have to do before narrating a Seth McDuffie book is pretty extensive. Like, I actually really have to get ready for it. Super fun, obviously. And I don't, there are occasions when I can do something in one take and it's just like flawless and no problem. And then times when I really have to punch in and like do it sort of easy recording Boys in the Hood, where you just punch in each phrase. For those who get that reference. But for me, like, I would go back and do sections like that over and over and over again. I normally try not to be self-editorial. Like, when I'm shooting a movie or a TV show or something, I don't want to watch playback because I don't want to judge the work that I'm doing.
Mhm.
But in stuff like that, I just feel like, man, I've only got one shot, and this is going to be permanent, and it needs to land. And I'll go back and I'll listen to it 2 or 3 times. And so sometimes I feel like that, maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like that section was one of the ones that I spent like an hour on.
Yeah.
Normally you get through 2-3 chapters in an hour, and that's your day, and then you go off and do something else. And sometimes with Seth's books, with the big sneaky books, it'll take me like an hour to do a paragraph, just because I want to get it just right. So I, I I'm I do remember now that we're listening to it, thinking, and I've never asked you this, Seth, but like as you were writing it, like were you super high or were you just like what was the driver?
Well, I will say with a 100% honesty that if Jonathan was not the narrator for this series, I do not think that scene would have ended up though either the way it was or at all, because I definitely wrote that knowing that he would just probably be pissed off at me, and and B, that he would kill it. The final result would make me laugh, which it did again, because I haven't actually listened to that in a few months. But I no, I was definitely high on a lack of sleep. I remember I wrote that part specifically when it was at like 3 a.m, and I was like, I couldn't sleep, and I was just like up, and I was like, oh man, like the way that my brain goes when I'm deprived of sleep is very close to confusion. And I wanted to like give that, the most genuine go I could. And I will say, I recall the receiving a text from you after you recorded that, because the text went in two
Really?
parts. I just finished your confusion scene. First of all, fuck you.
Really? I don't remember this at all.
I remember that, and I think it was an audio message, and I just died laughing because I was like, I you kind of feel bad, but at the same time, you're like, I know that it's going to be a good product, so get back to the mines, Johnathan. But
Wow. Okay.
I know it was said tongue in cheek, because you would never say that to me seriously, because we're too good of friends, and
Yeah,
it would make me cry.
We're super
But
tight bros.
but no, from my perspective, writing that, that was, it was sleep exhaustion and trying to just be as weird and as close to what I would imagine as ultimately confused as possible.
I can tell you what it's still off the top of my head, first book, the first time we encounter the character, really have a chapter with the character of Sababo.
Oh.
That's my favorite. Because Seth also gave me a trove of notes. And at this point, by the way, first book, we hadn't met yet. I recorded the whole first book without knowing who this guy was or anything about him. So, but I just had his notes, and it was like, this character should sound something like Peter Lorre from like the 1930s, like the yes master, that kind of thing. And I was like, all right, cool. And I got into it, but then I was like, but he's sort of cheeky and inappropriate and like borderline sexually harassing this dude, and like there's all this stuff. And so I remember like going huge over the top with that and thinking like, can this support the weight of the absurdity that I'm lashing onto it? And then I listened back to it, and I was like, maybe I didn't go far enough, actually. And so,
Oh no, you did well.
no, good, thanks. So like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I remember that distinctly, and then I remember my other single favorite moment in all the books. Maybe I have one sentence as my favorite is Rexon, RG in the last two books, when I think at one point he just goes, "You are fat," and it makes him like looking at this orc barbarian, and just like his takeaway from all the things that he's seeing with this character is, "You are fat." It just makes me laugh really, really hard every time I think about it.
I don't know how you do that voice for like the stretches. That it must just kill your voice.
I'm not kidding. There's there's vocal warm-ups, there's like he thrusts his fists against the posts, and so there's all the like all the theater training, like all that stuff, red leather, yellow leather, like all that stuff
Round
comes
and round
in.
the rugged rocks.
Yes, exactly. It's a thing. I know that Rexon is Seth's fiance's favorite character.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. She's like, and the thing is that a lot of like Rexon's lines are directly inspired by like when she's being goofy. I will like I would like take notes and then I would like modify it a little bit to fit, because he's so non sequitur. Like he's just
Yeah.
it's and it cracks me up. And so I'm like, if I find it funny, maybe somebody else will find it funny. So yeah, that ties in really well, because I would say I'll do my favorite thing to write and my favorite thing that Johnathan does in here. And my favorite things to write are, I love writing dialogue. Two characters in particular, Rexon, obviously, I just fucking love writing. It's a joy to just spill that nonsense out. And because he's such a, he, in my opinion of, I wrote him, but in my mind, he is so well fleshed out, but also he is such a weird enigma, deep fat fried in mystery, that it's just like it's so fun to just play with the way that he says things, because he has this like almost casual, almost like ancient sage way of speaking.
Yeah.
And and then of course the non sequitur, ridiculous, like huff and paint in the bathroom style of speech. But I also really really enjoyed writing Calden's lines. There was something about Calden that
I
like
love Cowden. Yeah.
I love this like melodramatic, you know, vaguely vagabond style, British, like kind of self-deprecating but also self-aggrandizing at the same time, and just sort of pathetic and sort of awesome, and just all of those things boiled into one, and they just make for a really fun character to write.
Now that you're saying that, I will say, so what I said remains true. Most fun, favorite thing to do. Some of the most deeply gratifying stuff to do is in the first book. And I know if anyone hasn't listened or read, I don't want to give away too much, but their shit gets very heavy at certain points, and very emotional and very real. And it's a tricky thing when you're narrating, because like your job is to allow the listener to have their emotional experience, not to impose your emotional experience onto them, right? So me getting choked up and crying, and I have pretty easy emotional access anyway. Like that's one of my things that I can tap into. And it was a real love-hate thing, powering through some of these more emotional sequences without allowing the emotion to overtake me, because no one's interested in what I'm feeling. Like, it's my job to make you feel something or help you feel something that Seth has created. And so I think those of us who are familiar with what I'm talking about, and anyone who's listening will probably know what it is, but those are sections that are like, that's funny, the thing earlier, but it's not Shakespeare, but the scope of some of what Seth wrote, especially in the first book, feels Shakespearean in its size. Operatic maybe is the right word, right? And getting to play that sort of like big operatic emotional truth um, is something that's just, it's a real gift. And if you're narrating, you're playing all the characters. So I'm having the villain's emotional life is living inside of me, and the victim, and all of that, and that's good stuff. That was great.
I can hear, and maybe this is the acting, but I can hear when your voice cracks sometimes,
Sure.
and and that adds something for me,
Good.
and I think there are multiple emotional moments and situations, and some of them are referenced more than once, but I think again, I swear you must have my notes here, but this is a perfect segue into the next thing.
We're professionals, man.
Well, so this is a surprise, and I've been kind of dangling this in front of you guys for a couple of months now. I read the first book, or I should say, I listened to the first book, and there's a scene in the dungeon. Again, don't want to give too much away, but there is an emotional. There is a song that is referenced that somebody sings. It's called Dragons in the Sky. And it is supposed to be, it was the person that's singing the song is sort of re-singing the song from an that he heard from another character. I think she was a harpist. Is that correct? Am I right? Okay.
Yeah, harpist bard.
harpist bard, and so she would do her magic through her music. It became clear to me early on that you guys were metalheads like myself, and so I reached out to a metal band, a symphonic metal band, and I had them produce. And again, this is a so the band is called Inaria. They're local here to Massachusetts, but I've been following them for several years. And I reached out to Jess and Sergio, and they were so excited to do this. And I said, "Listen, I don't know. I haven't run this by them. If they don't like, if they think I overstepped or didn't like it, then I said, this doesn't belong to me. This belongs to them. So like, this is a private commission. Please don't put this anywhere until you talk to them." So I want to play it for you now. And I haven't, listeners, I haven't played this for Johnathan or Seth before. So this is the Dragons in the Sky version from a symphonic metal band called Inaria. You guys ready?
Yes.
I guess.
Yes. Please.
All right, here we go.
A hero raised his bow and took his merry aim. He saw his targets resting there and thought it fair to claim. His sight was true, his aim was smart, and let the arrow fly. But luck was dark, he missed his mark on. Dragons in the sky. Dragons in the sky. Dragons in the sky. A sadder tale you shan't regale than dragons in the sky. Dragons in the sky. Oh, dragons in the sky. A sadder tale you shan't regale than dragons in the sky. They took affront to what he'd done and turned themselves around. They touched the fields of harvest yield and burned them to the ground. The hero tried to warn the town of the foolish thing he tried, but they were vast. What he saw last were dragons in the sky. Dragons in the sky. Dragons in the sky. A sadder tale you shan't regale than dragons in the sky. Dragons in the sky. Oh, dragons in the sky. A sadder tale you shan't regale than dragons in the sky. Dragons in the sky. Dragons in the sky. A sadder tale you shan't regale than dragons in the sky. Dragons in the sky. Oh, dragons in the sky. A sadder tale you shan't regale than dragons in the sky.
There you go. What'd you think?
Holy shit. I got like choked up.
So I'm fucking crying, and I don't know if it's better or worse that we're not video on this, because the look on I wish I could see what the fuck I just looked like. I'm first of all, it really highlights what a shitty singer I am. So that's a big part of it. Jesus. I mean, I only had the melody because Seth is a musician and he had played. You played it for me, right? Like that was how I got it when I originally had audio files, and that was to know what because normally, Jesus Christ, man. Because normally, you're not allowed to do musical anything in audiobooks because of copyright issues,
Right.
unless it's original, and it's very rare. But so Seth composed the melody. So hearing it fully orchestrated like that, holy fuck. Wow.
Yeah, I the wildest thing about that is the fact that that is like the exact same chord progression, and
Oh, wow.
up to and including the lead that is being played on the harp in that. That is the exact same, like dead similar chord progression that I put together for that originally. And oh my god, like that is, if you do this for everybody, my friend, like
No,
five
you're the first
stars.
one.
Holy fucking Jesus balls.
Well,
I,
that song spoke to me, and I, and I've been a fan of this band for a long time, and they were so awesome, and they were so excited to do this, and so I'm happy to. I'll send you the files after
Oh,
this,
please do. I'm gonna
and
listen to it nonstop.
cool. Yeah, it's an earworm for sure. But as far as I'm concerned, it's yours, and obviously, and I just
what? Tell me their name again.
Anaria.
And yeah,
Anaria.
yeah, I got them here. Okay, so yeah, like anybody listening to this, go follow them.
Oh, absolutely.
Jesus
Yes.
Christ.
Yeah, cool.
Holy fuck.
Well, I just that was my way of saying thank you for coming on the podcast, and for writing that song. That was an awesome song.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. No, yeah. I feel like the the your thumb is on the scale there, because I feel like now we owe you. Holy shit, that was amazing. Thank you so much.
Of course. Well, let's talk about we've spent 50 minutes talking about the past. Let's talk about the future. And at the end of the third book of Big Sneaky, you hint, not hint, you tell us, and you may have lied to us, but we'll talk about that in a second. You mentioned that you're going to be working together on another project, and that maybe Big Sneaky 4 will be delayed, or will be put on hold, while you're working on this new book. And this new book is called Meet Your Maker. And I know I've told you this already, but you hint at that it's going to be about a ham sandwich, which it's not. And so, of course, when I saw Meet Your Maker, I thought, it's MEAT, your maker. But I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit about what is this thing about? When's it going to come out? What does it mean for the future of Big Sneaky? Anything you feel like you want to talk to us about?
Yeah, Jonathan, you want to start, and I'll.
Yeah, sure. I'm still really,
Yeah,
really excited.
that's why I was hoping you could take over for a
Yeah,
second.
yeah. No, yeah. You go, go weep into your Jack Daniels, and I'll talk for a minute.
Whew.
Man, goddamn. So yeah, so when what goes on my tax forms now, what I do for a living is I'm a screenwriter. I have one movie that's gotten made, but I've written a few others that are in production or on the pipeline or whatever. And I have written books before, but it just felt like I was actually at a book convention doing a signing. And Podium, the publisher of Big Sneaky Barbarian and so many others, Noobtown and He Who Fights with Monsters, Beware of Chicken, all the big ones. The publisher, her name's Victoria, was there, and she's great. And I've known Victoria since 2016, and she and I were talking. And Seth and I at that point had become buddies. And I said, I've got an idea. And part of the idea emerged from the fact that I am currently writing a movie for the company that produces Wheel of Time for Amazon.
Wow.
And based on a property that they own, and they wanted me to do an adaptation for. And so I started chatting with them, and I was like, oh yeah, and this other, it's so funny, Wheel of Time lives in this space that I narrate these audiobooks, and in the back of my brain I was like, maybe Seth, who I really like and have gotten along so well with, and who has a presence in this genre, and I, who have a presence as a narrator in this genre, and who I love it, and Seth loves it, like maybe we could team up and do something interesting together, and do it candidly. Like, look, who knows what'll happen, right? But candidly craft something that narratively exists in a very precise sort of story structured way where you can see, oh, I see where season 1 of this thing, I see exactly where the act breaks are. And so, what I proposed was, as opposed to writing something for Royal Road, or as opposed to writing something for a serialized content kind of a thing where, it kind of goes on and whatever, what if we actually built a true outline for a very beginning, middle, end 5-book series that follows this very specific journey, and that you could see 5 streaming seasons on Netflix of, and and uh, and then let's forget about all that, because if you're focused on that, then again, this is like the thing I said earlier, that's writing for the wrong reasons. So, but with that sort of marching order in the back of our minds, craft the most interesting, compelling story that we can, that takes full advantage of lit RPG as a genre, that does all these things, and that also has other elements of like mystery and like existential rumination and like all this other stuff. And oh, wouldn't it also be great if it had like Deadpool style comedy running throughout the whole fucking thing to make it hilarious and fun for me to do, and as an audiobook and so forth. And that was like my big sort of like vomit pitch. And Seth was like, yeah, what is it? And I was like, I don't know. And so
Like Seinfeld.
exactly it's exactly right. I'm not sure which of us is Jerry and which is George, and it probably goes back and forth, but we ultimately came up with, well, I feel like writing, I love meta concepts just writ large. Like I love the idea of a thing, which Seinfeld is too, right? Like Seinfeld is a show about Jerry Seinfeld who plays a version of himself or whatever. I love things that are semi self-referential and that speak to sort of inside baseball kind of, humor and that kind of thing, and that are really for a community that can appreciate that kind of thing. And if it spills out and a larger audience finds it, great. But like, write to the people, dance with the one who brung you, right? And so it's kind of like, well, let's craft sort of a love letter to this community and these fans and these readers and this genre itself, and see if we can exploit this idea of what would it be like if someone who creates this stuff themselves got drawn into the world of their own creation. I think it was when we stumbled on that as like the hook, we were like, oh, right. So that's what it is. Meet your maker. So obviously the double entendre is, the guy who is one of the largest best-selling, most popular fantasy authors on the planet, through a series of events that I won't expose, winds up in the world that he created, because he has decided that he's at the end of his tenure with this series, this incredibly popular series, but he's just no longer feeling it, and he kills off his hero, his main character. And, on some sort of metaphysical level, the penance to pay for doing something like that is, well, now you got to make right all the things that you did to the people in this world. So he is transported into his own world, seen by everybody in the world as his hero. But of course, in a very progression fantasy kind of a way, he, at the end of his journey, his character's journey in the books, when he killed him off, he dispensed with all of the artifacts and weapons and gifts and strengths that he had. So now he's here being seen as this guy, but without any of that shit. So he's got to start over from basically the plus game version, but without any of the stuff that he had when he left. And so he's got to like now face a world that has, over the course of the 10 books that he wrote, gotten stronger and built itself up and knows how to function. But he has to encounter it without anything, basically bare baby, and navigate this journey. And the problem for our guy is that, in writing, there's pantsers and there's plotters. Plotters think everything through ahead of time, and we've really tried to do that here. Pantsers just sort of like write and sort of see where it takes you.
Yeah.
Our guy's a pantser. So the other thing is he's in this world and he can't really remember shit because he was just making it up as he went along. So he's also encountering things without like the spear that he needs, and even if he had it, he's not sure he can remember how it works and stuff like that. And lastly, I guess the important part is that part of the reason that he has this ennui about writing is he feels like he's not really affecting anything in the real world. Like, what am I doing? Which is, of course, naive, because the books that writers write affect the people who read them in profound ways. That's why there's conventions. That's why there's people get tattoos. That's whatever, right? And so, but he's just not feeling it. And so the metaphor, of course, is all right, well, you don't think you're affecting people's lives? Well, now you're in a world where everybody that you wrote about is in a fucking tower somewhere, or they're shackled, or you killed this person, or this person's husband died. You've done all this shit to these people. As one character says to him in the book, you fucked all these people. And so now is your chance to unfuck them. And so it's really about also making right all of the, like, really affecting people's lives in a profound way. And so that's sort of, are those the major bullet points of what we're doing with this, Seth? Does that feel
Yeah,
about comprehensive?
that feels like the most authentic version of giving people a taste of
Yeah.
what that story is.
Yeah.
And I wonder, as this is going to be one of my questions actually, was, are we going to get a glimpse kind of behind the curtain at what it's like to write, right? The things that you all think about. And like, is this, you said you like meta, right? So
Yeah.
are we going to get that from you? Like, are we going to
Oh,
see what it's like to be,
yeah,
Johnathan and Seth writing?
yeah, absolutely. You'll see glimpses of that. But and a lot of it is too that the expanded degree, because his level of success in real life, in the previous life, was so great that it's like compounded as to what a lot of these authors might be experiencing. But the thought processes and the way that he approaches a lot of his interactions is definitely going to be on brand for what goes through an author's mind, because I think every author, I'm going to speak for literally every author, has wondered
As you should.
what it would be like to interact with your own characters. And but when the track, when it's off the track, you don't know what to expect, because you're no longer writing what the character will do, and you don't have insight into them in that moment. So it's just, it's sort of one of those, like, absolutely yes, you're going to see into it, but you're also going to see what our version of the most realistic outcome for those scenarios is.
Mhm. Well, I actually had to Google that. I swear, you guys probably planned it like this. The name of the main character's novels is called, and this is, people, I'm not giving anything away. This is on Audible. You can see it. It's called the Rift Breaker novels. And it sounded so familiar that I actually had to look it up to see if it didn't exist already. Did you do that on purpose?
No.
No.
No. I mean, I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty good at remembering who came up with what. And I feel like you actually, yeah, Riftbreaker was yours. It just spilled out of your brain.
Yeah, we want, like, I wanted something that sounded like a legitimate series that could possibly exist, because
That
if it's
totally,
called
yeah.
like the Tales of Vesteroria the Third, that's not going to resonate with people. Like Riftbreaker, boom, like
Yeah.
it's immediately approachable.
It's you succeeded. I don't know what it sounds like, but but I've been in this genre for a long time now, as you both have been, and I mean, it sounds like a viable series.
And what's interesting about it is, again, without giving away too much, we kind of have to, we we're kind of writing it. Like, we kind of have to write the story that Bruce, our hero, wrote
Oh,
in order to write the story of him in the world. So we're writing two books almost simultaneously.
yeah.
We have to create the world that we created is built upon. So, and there's also a way. Fuck it, who cares? There's also a way to dole out exposition without being really heavy-handed. And one of those ways, I'm just saying, might be that you get a chance to see some of the chapters from the original Riftbreaker books.
I was wondering. Yeah, that's great.
I mean, I don't. We'll see how this goes. If it goes really well, because the Riftbreaker books aren't like our book. We think is hilarious. We better.
Oh
But
yeah, it's so many times just reading through it, or just like talking about it and just cackling with glee. Just
well, and also we're
absolutely.
working to make each other laugh, which is
That's
helpful.
exactly it. We've even crafted whole paragraphs back and forth to try to find the funniest version of the one idea that we had.
But
a blast.
but what I was gonna say is, but if it were to do like well enough, there's a world in which I could absolutely see somebody say, "Well, what would the Riftbreaker books look like themselves?" And then that would be our next thing when we finish Meet Your Maker is actually writing Riftbreaker.
Well, when can we expect this? Is it due out soon?
So it will be in bookstores, in audio, and online, and it is available for pre-order now from Amazon.
So pre-order it if you're listening right now and you've got the time. Just go
Yeah,
over and click.
on October the 14th, the first one will come out.
Oh well, guys, is there anything else that you want to tease?
Very soon. Feel free to go check it out. I think the domain is just owned, but it's not there yet. But very soon we will have a website that will be meetyourmaker.world. And we will have lots of extra stuff there. Plus, we're going to try and do a newsletter. Like we think that the logo that our publisher has crafted for the MYM, the
Mhm.
acronym logo is so sick that we're
Yeah,
like
it's
hats,
Is that the
Yeah.
one on Twitter?
t-shirts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we got to get that out there. So that'll be going down. And anything else about this in advance? I mean, you're gonna get sick of hearing us talk about it over the next few months. So I guess
it's
I'll
going to
just
be unyielding and unrelenting.
yeah.
What does this mean for Big Sneaky 4, if you don't mind me asking?
As of this moment right now, I'm considering Big Sneaky on hiatus. I think
Gotcha.
we both do. But yeah, there's definitely a lot more of that story to be told as well. And in fact, there are actual like unedited 80 pages somewhere on there of book 4 sitting on my computer right now. So when that ends up becoming more than 80 pages, I'm not sure when, but this is definitely like the thing that I am so excited about right now is Meet Your Maker. So yeah, we'll see, I guess, but yeah, definitely not a for sure no, not a for sure yes, but kind of in that literature limbo.
Gotcha.
There's your alliteration.
Yeah. Exactly. And we're full circle again. So, so tell us, what else are you guys currently working on? Can we expect, other than Meet Your Maker? I'm sure you guys are doing some other things now. Tell us what we can expect to see from you. Johnathan, you mentioned probably 5 to 7 other book series that you're starting up.
That I'm narrating. Yeah. I mean, I can plug a couple that I know for sure I'm doing. Because I think, Seth, you know a lot of these authors too.
I do. Yeah, I would say I'm pretty good terms with a lot of them.
Yeah. So a lot of these are Royal Road derived, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Seth? Yeah.
I would say if I know all of them that you're currently working on, I would say
Right.
almost all of them are.
Right. So Ultimate Level 1 by Sean Wilson. I'm in the middle of recording right now. Something called Bog Standard Isekai. I'm in the middle of. I just turned in book 1 of something called Tower of Jack. That's actually being done through Dakota Kraut's company. And I only say that because Dakota, I think, has his own platform. So I don't think that's going to be available on Audible. I think he just releases things through his own app.
Okay.
And then something called Resistance Above Magic. Another thing that the title is eluding me at the moment, but it's God, I hope the authors don't hear this and kill me if is it Demonic Elder Sect? I don't know. But it seems, I haven't started reading it yet, but I'm assuming it's amazing. So that, and then Noobtown will be coming back. I know,
Nice.
Ryan's had to take a hiatus on that for a few reasons, but he's doing, I think, an edit on it right now. So Noobtown will be coming. And then in my own world, I'm actually, the screenplays I'm writing and all that stuff, the movies. But I've actually, a friend of mine who used to be the CEO of Heavy Metal Magazine has a company called Gunyear Books. He and I are doing a graphic novel set in the world of Thor. And so I'm working on a graphic novel with him. And I don't know, is that enough? That feels like enough.
That's enough.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, feels like plenty.
Well,
Seth, what are you doing?
Yeah, tell us.
Well, currently, with our podcast, we're coming up on 6 years with our podcast. We've got for those not in the know, I'm the the host and dungeon master of the D20 Syndicate, a 5e actual play podcast. But we've got some pretty cool things in store. We've got a convention coming up that we're going to live stream from as well. So we're working on stuff like that. I've got a couple of irons in the fire for other story ideas that are, whether they make it onto Royal Road or not, or like just go into the publishing route or however I end up doing that. They're extremely fun to write, and I'm writing them for me. And I think as I be doing, and and then other than that, I mean, I think a big focus right now is I'm currently engaged, so we're planning doing a lot of wedding planning. So that's taking up a huge portion of that. Yeah, this is it's fun though, because I am at heart, I am a shameless ham and a very, very gregarious party planner. So this is like the best of all worlds for me. So I've already locked in a lot, but yeah, it's all coming together and it's going to be a blast. And actually, Johnathan is going to be he's going to, what's the word?
Officiate.
And yeah, you're going to be the officiant of our ceremony.
Yeah,
That's great.
I am. Yeah, well, we'll see. So Seth and I are actually meeting in person for the first time. Both of our birthdays are in a few weeks and near each other. So Seth and his fiance are flying out to LA to hang out with me and my wife for a few days. So we'll see how that goes.
This may be irrelevant in a few weeks. So.
Well, guys, this has been so much fun. Before we sign off here, could you tell us where we could find you online?
You can find me on Instagram at Sermy. That's SERHMY. You can find me on my website, SethMcDuffie.com. I'm always, spitting out whatever I find funny on Reddit, usually showing up to just drop a meme or two. And yeah, I have, you search Seth McDuffie on Facebook, you follow my author page. And of course, meetyourmaker.world, because that should be live soon.
Yeah. And then my website too, JohnathanMcClain.com. Jonathan with an extra H in the front for no good reason. JohnathanMcClain. And then I'm Mr. J McClain on Facebook, MISTER, and Mr. J McClain, MRJ on Instagram. Don't ask, it doesn't matter. And then you can fuck with me on Reddit if you want at I'm a user I hate this app the most on Reddit. Okay, so here's the thing. It's not that I dislike it. It's that they made it so hard for me to set it up and get my username going that by the time I finally got through all of their safety protocols and jumped through all the hoops, I was like, I'm fucking done. I don't care. And that was why I named it that. And now people are like, why don't you like Reddit? And I'm like, no, I do. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's too funny.
So anyway, yeah, that's where you can find and here with you on this podcast.
That's right. Yeah.
Best place to be.
Well, thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, man. This has just been fantastic, and I cannot get over your song. Holy shit, dude! I'm gonna be thinking and talking about that for quite some time. So thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us down this Lit RPG deep dive. Please consider giving us a review on Apple Podcasts and visit us over at longwinded.one, where you can see past episodes and find all of our socials, even our new Discord server. We hope you enjoy.